Hello and welcome again to the episode of Battle Ready. Today, we thought we'd talk about or have a little discussion about another aspect of Age of Sigmar. So last week, well, in a recent week, I think it's last week, we talked about recursion, some problems and good and bad about it. And this week, I thought we'd talk about mortal wounds. So mortal wounds, Drake, what are mortal wounds?
Damage that ignores saves.
Damage, that's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's damage that you don't get a save roll against. So whether you have no armor and you're like a 6-up save, right? Or whether you're a highly armored Kragnos or like a 3-up or something, you don't get a save. The mortals are just damage. But there is one thing that can stop mortals. What?
Wards.
All right, how does ward saves work?
They will. Some wards will only stop mortals.
Well, let's talk about your normal ward.
Your normal ward is basically a second save to try and stop damage.
Yeah, so a save on a normal attack will stop the attack. So if the attack does 3 damage, it stops all 3 damage, right? But a ward is for all the damage that gets dealt. So if 3 damage gets through, whether that's from 1 attack or 3 attacks,
you'll be rolling 3 dice.
You roll 3 dice, right? So each piece of damage is rolled for in a ward. That's really the only difference, right? But you're right, a ward is like a save, and wards work on mortals, and they also work on
normal saves.
Normals, right?
Not always, though.
Well, a normal ward.
Yes, and standard ward.
So I guess the question then becomes, are mortal wounds, is the whole system of mortal wounds, is that good for the game? What are your thoughts?
I think it is good the way it is.
The way it is?
Yes.
All right, why do you say that?
Because I feel like any tampering to make it weaker will have to fix every battle tome.
Okay, yeah. Yes. So there's obviously going to be logisticals. Although if you wanted to fix every battle tome, maybe you could create a new edition of the game that's coming up pretty soon, right? But let's say you could switch, you could just do it and you don't have to worry about the logistics. You could just make the change. Do you think the game would be better with a different system, or do you think that it's good the way it is now?
I think one reason that it's good the way it is now is because if we changed it to a different system, like half the game is going to change.
Right, but my question is that good, right?
I would say no. I think it would be too big of a game changer.
Too big of a game changer. So I like the idea of mortal wounds. I think mortal wounds as something that goes through armor is a good thing. But I think there's too much of it in the game. I think there's way, way, way too many mortal wounds available in the game. And I think there are too many things that can do a lot of mortal wounds. I would really like to see mortal wounds limited to like 1s or 2s. The big mortal wounds, like the big ones, should be a D3. And then
humongous.
And that's it. So, for example, I would get rid of everything that's like 6s to the wound or 6s to hit or mortals in addition. I would just get rid of all of it. It's all gone. That doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you could do exploding hits. I'd be fine with that, right? You could change those into other things. I would get rid of most mortals that do other things. And the reason is, but I would make mortals just for things that are magical. Like spells, like Nurgle diseases, like Slanesh temptations.
Not squigs.
Yeah, no.
Not even a squig hurt to run around and bite you?
No, I would make the 6s, like I said, 6s are exploding, or maybe you could say when you roll a 6, you get those hits get extra rend, or, there's lots of different things you could do to make them seem cool, but I would really want to see an armor save on almost everything. And the reason is, I feel like over the course of 3.0, there's been an arms race, right?
Yes.
Where, like, being able to generate mortal wounds is great because it doesn't factor in the armor save, so you can really hit people. But then they're like, oh, okay, now we need to give ward saves. But then you're like, okay, now we need to do extra mortals to get around the ward saves.
Then we need to put more ward saves.
Then you get to, like, by the time Slaves of Darkness is around, a bunch of their units have wards for mortals.
So then you just got to hit them hard with normal damage.
But they have good saves.
So you get high rend.
So it's really hard, right? I feel like mortals is a good thing that's just been used way too much. I would really, 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 really reduce it. And maybe you can have a couple of armies that had it, like maybe Zinch with so much magic. Maybe they did a lot more mortals. Maybe even like a Starborn Seraphon.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe you could have a couple of armies that sort of lean into the mortals a little bit, and then they would have other
things,
other drawbacks, other things, right? But when you have like every few months, there's another book. Now you've got bigger mortals and more mortals. It starts to feel sort of bad, especially for armies at the early end of the edition, like Stormcast in particular, where their whole thing is we've all got good armor saves, right? We're all in the Sigma, right? We've all basically the whole army has 3-ups, right?
Some sad things have 4-ups.
Yeah, that's their sad. There's the weak stuff has 4-ups, but they all have 3-ups. Some of the stuff like Liberators and things, they're 3-ups with bonuses to save. So that's their thing.
Yep.
But now that there are so many mortals out there, that they just get, it feels sort of bad to play.
But that's
them.
their weakness.
Right. And it would be okay if mortals were like here and there, right? To whittle them down a little bit. Like the way that Slaanesh does it, I think is pretty good. But when you can just do like, 6s are mortals, 6s are mortals in addition, 6s on the wound, or even more mortals, mortally. It feels really bad. I feel like mortals should be a lot weaker than they are. Now, I shouldn't say weaker. I feel like they should be a lot less impactful. And I had high hopes about it at the beginning because I think Nurgle's diseases work pretty good.
Yeah.
Because 6s are not mortals. 6s are a 50-50 shot from mortals, right? And they cap out at 7. So you can't find a unit or a monster or something and get like
80 disease on it.
80 disease and be like, okay, we're going to crush you. Nighthaunt are also really good because 6s aren't mortals, but they miss the wound.
They skip the wound.
They skip the wound. So they're like auto hits that you have to save.
Lethal hits.
Lethal hits. You still get your armor save, so you can still, fight back a little bit, but it's still good for you.
Yes.
Because then you don't have to worry about the wound roll.
Yeah.
Right? So I think there's lots of things like that they could play with, but I hate seeing wards on everything because wards are they're just an extra save. I don't know. I feel like wards should be really limited to unique characters, maybe even like monstery stuff, like Kragnos and Dagash and Marathi, stuff like that should have a ward. But
then we'd see a higher increase of that, and so they would bring mortals to kill that. Like they'd make a Oops All Mortals army.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you don't have to worry so much about that because now almost nothing has wards, right? And so then you just don't give as many mortals out, right? So when you're designing an army, this army can't do crazy amounts of mortals. What do you think about living in that era where mortals are rarer, but when they happen, there's little you can do about it?
That feels like how the old Squig Herd was, except in all of Warhammer.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. What do you think? You think that's better than the world we live in?
No.
You like having more mortals?
Yes, because that makes it so that certain armies that have wards, because buckets of dice, buckets of mortals will kill things.
Right.
But I just like the idea of, since the mortal realms are changing, and so everyone's making new weapons that are more lethal, more dangerous, more this and that, and so there will be more mortal wounds to get through.
So you like it from a flavor perspective?
Yes, I just like the flavor of Achoo!
Okay, I could see that for sure. But what about just from a gameplay perspective? Do you think it's good for the game that there are so many of these mortal wounds that bypass saves?
Yes.
See, I have a trouble saying yes. Like, I don't think it's bad the way it is. I'm not trying to say that AoS sucks, because it doesn't. It's awesome. We play it all the time.
Yep.
Right? But I do think that, if you're taking something that has a 3-up save, you're paying points for that, right? And then to go up against an army that has focused in on mortals that ignore your 3-up save, it's not great. Sort of like you pay a lot of points in ogres because almost everything you do is multi-damage, and then you go up against Coalesced Seraphon, and they just reduce it all. And so you paid all these points for stuff that's like weak now. And I think stuff like that sort of turns off a whole mechanic should be pretty rare. Not never used. Definitely not never used. There's a place for it. But I think it should be much rarer. Like, for example, there's tons of stuff out there that does D3 mortals on the charge.
Yeah.
Right? That's pretty common. It's not everything, but it's pretty common. You see that on like chariots. You see that on blood cauldrons. Right?
Yeah,
Lots
I think
of
that's
stuff.
big and four-wheeled.
I would turn that off. I would get rid of that.
You get rid of impact hits?
Yep. I would say like on a 2-up, it deals you get 3 hits at a such and such damage or such and such rend or whatever, and so that way they get a save. So when the chariot hits me, if I have a 3-up save, maybe I can avoid some of the damage.
Right.
Whereas if right now if that chariot hits me, okay, I'll take some damage.
But it's a giant wheeled monstrosity barreling you down. You should not get a normal save at that.
I think you should. I think for anything physical.
In warfare, if something is charging your rank of soldiers, is a giant metal contraption, your little tiny shield is not stopping a giant chariot. You're just getting mowed over.
Right. I'm not saying it's stopping it. I'm saying you're avoiding damage from it. Right. So the wheels, you deflect it, and so you're not, you're getting pushed back, you're getting hit to the side, but you're not losing a foot. Right. I think it's totally fine. But the thing that made me think about it recently is I was playing Slaves to Darkness.
He was.
And no spoilers, but so much of the Slaves to Darkness, at least so much of our list between the Knights and the Warriors, there was just a lot of, so first of all, they have good saves, and then they have wards for mortals on top of that.
Buckets of dice!
So just like, if you want to hit me, I've got a good save. All out defense, I'm going to be saving on 2s or 3s. If you want to mortal me, well, I've got some more. A 5-up save is good. 6-up wards are pretty trash. But a 5-up ward is legit. It's legit. And so, and I have a Vanguard even have a 4-up ward.
I know, it's insane.
So I just feel like
them a lot.
There doesn't seem to be an obvious weakness. And that seems like that's coming from the arms race, right? You have Stormcast. Oh, they're really hard to kill because the armor is good. All right, so we'll put in a lot of mortals. Oh, now stuff's too easy to kill. So now we'll put in a lot of wards. Oh, shoot, now there's this thing. So now we're going to have good arms games with good wards. And you put it all together, and I feel like...
Doesn't work.
I feel like it's just too much. It's just too much in the game. Plus... I don't like how wards slow the game down because we're already rolling once to attack, and then again to wound, and then the other person has to roll to save, and then to have them roll a 4th time for wards. Sometimes if the damage was 2 apiece, we'll just roll it twice, right?
It's a 5,
and it's like, man, that's a lot of rolling for one combat.
I feel like it's fine. It's just 1, maybe 2 more rolls. We're already rolling like 100 times.
Yeah, we're already. Well, that's what I'm saying. We're already rolling a lot. So let's chip it down where we can. Let's chip it down.
I'd say just ignore it. We won't really notice it. I don't even notice it.
Don't even notice what?
The game takes longer because we.
Oh, well, you're a crazy person. You'd notice.
I don't notice.
Well, remember when we played Age of Fantasy?
Yes.
And it was a lot shorter?
Yes.
There you go.
But they used a weird fighting system.
No. I'm saying you'd notice that it's shorter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they changed the system so that the game would be shorter, you'd notice it in AoS too. So, I don't know. Once again, I think AoS is great. Love it. But I would like to see less of it. And I hope that in 4.0, we do see mortals restricted to the more magical elements. Things that you can't block with a shield. I can't block disease. I can't block temptation. I can't block lightning bolts, right? Stormcast exploding. That could also be mortals, right? But mortals would have to be something like that. Anything that's physical, I would like to see a save for. And like the chariot, right? You could even say, all right, on a 2-up, you get 3 hits at rend 3.
Yeah, but that just feels like that means you have to roll a save, and the unit might have a ward. You have to roll.
No, I'd say get rid of the wards. Right, nothing has wards anymore. The only stuff that has wards are like centerpiece models, or maybe some unique things. Like I could see Sigvald because of the mirror shield having a ward. I could see maybe a Bastion having a ward, but like you'd have to be at least to that level to even think about getting a ward, right? No more troop, no more Simbaresh gets wards. No more nothing. None of the little stuff gets wards anymore.
I just feel like that messes up all their powers.
Yeah, it does. So you might have to do things to compensate. So you either drop their points so you can take more of them, or you give them something. You lower their save from 4 to 3. I mean, there's lots of stuff you could do. But what I'm saying is that would be better, a better system, and that would be better for the game than Mortals and Wards. No?
No.
You like there being lots of Mortals and lots of Wards?
Yes, it makes the game more fun.
Okay. All right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that opinion. I don't think that's. I mean, it's not my opinion, but I don't think you're wrong. I don't think that's a bad opinion. But what do you think? Tell us in the comments below. What would you like to see with Mortals and Wards? How about this? What about this? What if we kept Mortals in the game at roughly the same level, but Wards from now on only work against Mortals?
Okay.
So you don't roll wards for normal wounds. You either roll a save or you roll a ward.
Either or?
Yep. You have a ward against mortals. You have a save against normal damage. For most armies. Maybe Nurgle's special. Maybe some of the death armies are special. Right? We can make exceptions. But the general rule, if you have a ward, it only applies to mortals. All other damage is a save, and that's it. You don't get a save and a ward on the same damage.
I think I have to say no to that one again.
Really?
The ward is just this magical protection. And magical protection wouldn't be like, I'll stop this damage. Oh, damage is coming in to kill my bear? No.
Yeah, no, I think it would. I think you have a ward represents your
magic stick.
Your magic buffer, your magic barrier. But the magic barrier stops Tzeentch's spells. It stops Nurgle's diseases. But it doesn't stop my dagger. Ah! Right? I think that's a separate thing. That you're gonna have to use your armor for that. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. I disagree. My first option would be to see no wards. I mean, almost no mortals. Almost, that's probably a little too strong. But like a lot less. And then almost no wards. That I think would be my number one. Number two would be to just divvy it up for the most part, right? Like I said, some special armies could have special rules.
Yeah.
But for the most part, wards only work against mortals and saves work against real damage. But you like it as it is better than those two options?
I like it as is.
All right, cool. Well, let us know. Tell us what you think in the comments below. What are your thoughts on mortals? Are they a good system at all? I think we both think, in theory, mortals are a good system.
Yes.
And then if they are, how would you like to see them implemented? As they are now, you think it's awesome?
Yes.
Something like I would like to see where mortals are confined to sort of magic?
No.
Or something more in the middle? Tell us your thoughts. Any final thoughts on mortals and wards?
Nope, I think we have fought over everything there is to fight over.
We'll find more. We'll find more. All right, this has been another episode of Battle Ready.
Ready.
Thanks so much for watching.